the break-even point and how to calculate all that. So just thank those two for giving me a call regarding that particular loan product. And then Tom and Judy, a couple, and Vincent, a single guy, they were curious to get more info about reverse mortgages, and we did a deep dive and kind of talked through the pros and cons of that. So thank you to all of you for calling. Oh, lastly, Wendy is buying her first rental property. So congratulations to all of you, and I do appreciate those calls. If you're not comfortable getting them on the air, do like those people did and give us a shout during the week, 561-291-8569. So, but as you know, the spirit of the show is answering your questions, and Dom has got some loaded up. I see him there, ready to rock and roll. So let me throw it over the board to the Dominator, the producer extraordinaire, and get some questions rolling.
All right, we have Zach just emailed us. Zach's asking, my bank said I can't use my crypto account as assets. Are there any other options for me?
Hey, Zach, that's a great question. And up until recently, no. A lot of lenders were afraid of crypto, but you heard me say up until recently. So there are programs. We actually are able to use your crypto as assets. And sometimes loan programs require you to have a certain amount of assets above and beyond what you're putting into the deal. So more than just your down payment and closing costs. And crypto certainly can be used for that. There's a multiplier applied to it. It's usually around 40 or 50% of the asset value. And the reason for that is, one, volatility, right? We all saw the wild swing in crypto this week. And anybody who ever doubted that, crypto can move quickly and wildly this week exposed that. So they discount it for the volatility, but they also discount it because most people are going to have a significant capital gains at one point in their crypto life. If they ever convert those to dollars and spend the US dollar, there is going to be a capital gain associated with that. So because of volatility and capital gains, they usually discount the value to 40 or 50% of the portfolio value to count for assets. And we've got a pretty cool loan program where we can even use it for income. I'll share a real quick story with you. And I might have shared it once before. I remember Dom and I were talking about this off the air one time. Because Dom is right in the wheelhouse age-wise of the crypto investor, and he's really forward-thinking. But we were talking about a couple that I had met that were in their late 20s, and they had accumulated a lot of crypto. I mean, they were crypto millionaires without any exaggeration. And they converted a portion of that into dollars for the down payment. But then we were able to apply what's called an asset depletion calculation. And this can be applied to any asset, to a retirement account, to a 401k. But we applied a multiplier to the remaining holdings to determine a monthly income. And they weren't required to sell it. They weren't required to withdraw any of the money or even convert it to a Tether coin. But they were able to use it as a monthly income based on that calculation. So this couple, without any dollars to speak of, were able to qualify and purchase a significant property. So super cool that, crypto is out there. It's becoming recognized as a legitimate currency. There definitely are some scary sides of it, but I just wanted to share that. Crypto can be used for assets, and in some cases we can apply that model to it to use it for income as well. So, hey, Zach, I hope that helped and answered your question. I encourage you to get with us offline if you have additional questions. But speaking of additional questions, we'll see what Dom has for us.
Calvin called in asking, how long can I lock in a rate for? Is it possible to lock in the rate before I find a house?
Hey, Calvin, that's a great question. That's a wonderful question. In a rapidly ascending interest rate environment, it certainly makes sense to lock as early in the process as possible. So I'm going to answer the second half of your question first, because yes, you can lock it before you find a house. You can get your approval fully underwritten. It's what's called a TBD, meaning to be determined, right? The property is yet to be identified, a TBD approval. And with that TBD approval, you're ready to rock and roll pending the property being identified. So your rate lock can be typically up to 90 days with no charge, no upfront fees to you for a rate lock up to 90 days. If you want to go beyond 90 days, say you want to do a 6-month rate lock, Some lenders have an extended rate lock program that requires an upfront fee, but you can go up to 360 months, with some programs with an upfront fee paid in advance. So, and you'll remember, we've talked about this before because I do remember this question coming up a few shows back. And if you don't close, you choose not to exercise the mortgage approval and you just stay in your rental or you move out of town, you do not get that fee refunded. And I don't know if you remember, but I kind of likened it to putting a bicycle on layaway at the sporting goods store. Matter of fact, I think I mentioned Walmart. And because that bike was taken out of inventory and could have been sold a number of times after you chose to take it out of inventory and put it on layaway, you don't get that fee back. And it's the same with money. Once you reserve that money for that extended period of time, in a typical lender scenario, in 360 months, they probably could have turned that money 3 times. So they've lost money by holding it for you and you not using it. And that's why there's an upfront fee associated with a rate lock of 6 months or longer. So hopefully that answers your question. Typically, a rate lock of 90 days requires no fee. We do them all the time. And then we also have a float down strategy. And I guess I should mention that too. Most of the extended rate locks have a one-time float down feature. So if you were to pay for a 1-year rate lock and rates were in the 5s or 6s, I don't know, let's just pick a magic number, 5.5, we'll split the difference. And suddenly 4 or 5 months out, rates dipped for whatever reason, you could exercise, most cases it's a one-time option, but you could exercise what's called a float down option and get the lower rate for the rest of the lock period. So we have a few float down strategies that we use too. So hopefully that helps. If you want to deep dive that off the air, I'm happy to answer your question in further detail. And you can use the Anytime hotline to get us off the air also. And that number is 561-291-8569. That's 561-291-8569. Visit us online at mr.mortgage. Just type in mr.mortgage or the Facebook page, The Mr. Mortgage Show. So you hear the music, that means we're going to run into a break. We're going to be right back in 2 minutes, and we'll get to more of your questions. My name is Mark Eitel, and this is The Mr. Mortgage Show. Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Here's another 5-star review.
We started our loan with a different company. They said we were approved, but at the last minute they told us there was a problem. I still don't know what went wrong, but thankfully our real estate agent told us about Mark. I was pretty stressed, but it's the perfect house, so we gave Mark a shot. He got it done. I'm not sure what was different, but I don't really care. We even got a better interest rate and with less money out of pocket than the first guy quoted us. It was a great surprise. Yes, I'm happy to recommend Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. You hear me all the time talking about the need to have the very best team representing you in a real estate transaction. And that starts with a really great agent. If you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you don't, check out www.reallyGreatAgents.com. There you'll find the best of the best, regardless of the city they work in or the brokerage they work for. www.reallyGreatAgents.com. www.reallyGreatAgents.com.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, we are back. My name is Mark Eitel. This is the Mr. Mortgage Show. Dom and I do this every weekend right here, same time, same station. So super happy that you're with us. We're going to continue to get your questions answered. And if you have questions, 561-291-8569 is the easiest way to get those to us. As they come in, Dom gets them on the air, and he's got one loaded up. So let's throw it over to him.
It's actually a text message that we got this time. They didn't include a name. Do you know of any creative financing options for first-time buyers? We want to buy, but it's difficult right now.
All right. That's a great question. And there are several options. So creative financing, first-time buyers. I'm going to need to know a little bit more, but I'm going to cover some of the challenges that I know first-time buyers have in general, and maybe that will answer your question. But if it doesn't, I encourage you to get a hold of us during the week at 561-291-8569. So creative financing for first-time home buyers can be something as simple as, if it's a down payment issue, you can use gift funds. So if a family member, even an employer can gift funds, they can assist with the down payment. If it is a situation where, actually, you know what, let me stay on that for a minute. There are a lot of grant programs that'll help with down payments also. And if you want to find a down payment assistance program, I encourage you to hit Google and type in your county and your state and then down payment assistance. As I mentioned many, many times before, those down payment assistance programs are often facilitated at a county level. So that's the easiest way to find that particular information. And then if it is a credit score issue, we talked about the lease option program last week, and that's really getting a lot of interest. You identify the property that you want, you pay a 1% to 2% deposit into escrow, and then you rent it back from the investor. So the investor buys it for cash. We're approved as a lender with this investor, and you have up to 36 months to get mortgage ready. Each month, a portion of your monthly payment goes towards your future down payment. So the lease option can help you if you've already found the dream house and you need time to get your credit score up. So if that's your issue, sometimes the lease option may help. And then if there's a friend or family member that would be willing to be a non-occupying co-borrower, that may help also, although we're using the lowest of the credit scores. So if your credit score doesn't even qualify you, that may be an issue, but that sometimes can work around that. We talked down payment, we talked credit score. If it's a debt to income ratio, that means it's the interest rate is now you're not qualifying because a larger portion of your monthly income is going to service the debt of the mortgage. Sometimes there are things like the seller can pay what's called a rate buy down for the buyer. So let's say you qualify at 4.5, but not at 5.5. And if the seller is willing to do it, they can buy your rate down to 4.5%. It's a fee, but it's a fee that someone else, in this case, the seller, would be paying to get your rate down. That's something I think you're going to hear more and more about as we move into a more balanced market where sellers are going to be more likely to give concessions. And concessions can be things like pay your closing costs, buy the rate down, those type of things. So those are certainly available. And then, as I just mentioned, if closing costs are the issue, then something as simple as a seller contribution may be the answer. But if none of those check the box for you and you have additional questions, give me a shout, 561-291-8569. That number pushes to the office when we're not on the air, and I'll be happy to walk you through your specific scenario. So speaking of questions, let's keep this train rolling and throw it back to Dom.
All right, Jason just sent us this one. Jason asks, rates are going up, stock market is going down, gas prices are going up, and now we can't buy baby formula. How is it possible that real estate is not going to crash?
Hey, Jason. Yeah, I know all those things are super frustrating, and I can kind of sense the frustration in your question. So it's not going to happen immediately. The market's not going to crash because of any of those reasons. As a matter of fact, those reasons kind of demonstrate why it's not going to crash. And I'm not saying something might not change significantly in the future, but for the moment, and let's use some of your examples, right? Gas prices are high. Why are gas prices high? Now, you could argue regulation, administration, all of that has something to do with it. But the biggest component of why gas prices are high, there's more demand than supply.